Somebody help to confirm. Yes.
Yep. Muted.
Somebody help to confirm. Yes. Apparently we are live. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to the Académie Lafayette board meeting. Just a few days before the start of school. So we are excited. Somebody help to confirm. Get another school year started. Are we good on sound?
Yes.
Yeah. Share your screen.
Okay. Fine.
Perfect. Hopefully everybody received the agenda for tonight's meeting. Can we move the slides forward to see the agenda? With one change, I know Stephen has a conflict tonight, so we just need to move him up to the beginning of the agenda. So that's the only change. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any discussion? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone? Carrie? Do we have any stakeholder comments tonight? I didn't see any sign up. Who do they go to now? Who gets stakeholder comments? Okay. So I don't believe we have any stakeholder comments.
Carlos is still getting her email, so.
Okay, right, I know, I get many emails from Carlos, so still very active, which we appreciate after retirement. All right, I think I saw we have Brandy on the phone. Brandy, for your PTO report.
Yes, I am here. Hello. Just a couple of things to update from the last time we spoke. At back to school night on Monday, we're going to have PTO board members at each campus have a table. We did that like years ago, so we're trying to bring that back just with information for families to come by and groom parents and things like that. And then we have a really good Beautify AL group happening at Oak, and they've done many hours of volunteer work, a lot of labor and cleaning up and small projects, small permanent plantings. And we are gonna kind of start to rally parents to do that a little bit more at Cherry and at Armour. So we've been in contact with the administration at those buildings about what they need as far as cleanup and what ideas they have. We have a very small budget for this. It's mostly just cleaning up and hours, volunteer hours put into that. And then the other thing coming up, it's October, but it doesn't feel like it's that far away really. We're gonna have a trivia game night. It's official. That's happening on October 15th, and it's gonna be at the Plex Pod. So.
Oh, that is awesome to hear. I know we haven't been able to do that for a little while, so it's nice to get back to some of those events again.
Yeah, so that's kind of the update I have.
Awesome. And Brandy, I know you were looking to see which parents can attend this Saturday's board retreat. Will you let me know who is planning to attend so that we can make sure to divide up those groups?
Yes, I'll email you.
If you want, that would be perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions for Brandy? Awesome. Thank you, Brandy.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, next is approval of the minutes, which hopefully everybody got from Carlos. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Oh, one thing, yeah, just, we need to, we're correcting the name from Randy to Brandy.
From last.
Yeah, from last.
So we approved minutes last month.
Yep.
Brandy's name was not spelled correctly, so we're going to make that update. In order to make that change, we just need an approval on that. We have a motion to approve the change.
This is Gwen Poss. I move to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, finance?
Starting with finance.
Right, yes.
Steven is
I know I saw him on here. Stephen, are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So during finance meeting, we discussed accounts payable, and the committee noted a couple items just wanted to discuss with you. And so BNIM, that's our architect that does work for us. We noted $8,000, almost $9,000 transaction. We discussed that, and that was for the makerspace, third floor renovations. And so that was for their services May and June 2022. And so we paid that in July. And then another item that we discussed was IBDP, which is an annual expense, $11,000. And what that is, that's the diploma fee for grades 11 and 12. And in connection with that, we've had in the past MYP, annual expense, for grades 6 through 10. And so just wanted to bring that to your attention, that we had those expenses that we talked about in finance meeting. And Michael, can you move for a motion on that to approve the July accounts payable?
Okay, this one? Yeah, I move to approve the July accounts payable.
Second. Any discussion? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
So on this slide here, so the compiled financial statements, wanted to share those with you, and that was also in the board packet that went out via email. And so those compiled financial statements were included in there. And so if you were to look at that report, there is an accountant's compilation report included in there. And so that report itself discusses the basis of the financial statements that are included in this compiled set. It discusses the period that's covered and the statements that are included. That report also indicates that this set of financials are not audited. And so they don't express an opinion on it, and they don't provide assurance on these set of financial statements. And this comes from our third-party accountant. And the last comment on that report, which is on page 1 of that report, they also indicate that these financial statements are not for certain readers that are not informed about the omitted disclosure. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, and then actually talk about the financial statements that are included within that compiled set. And so there is the statement of assets, liabilities, and net assets. And so if you're in a for-profit business, you might hear the term balance sheet. And so that's what this is, somewhat similar related type of statement, because it has your assets and your liabilities. And in our case, we have net assets instead of equity. And so at the bottom of this report, this statement of assets, liabilities, and net assets, we have the total net assets. And that's what feeds from the next page, which is the statement of support. You can go back a slide there. So the statement of support, revenues, expenses, and change in net assets, this is similar to an income statement. And people often ask, what's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? And so that's the net assets ending. And so we ended with $8.3 million in net assets. We were down from 8.5 million. So we had a change in net assets of $217,000, almost $200,000. So what does that mean? So excluding capital items, we capitalize certain expenses. Excluding those and principal payments, we spent more than we received by $200,000. And so our expenses exceeded our revenues is what that translates to. And then the last page of that compiled set of financial statements has the expenses itemized or in categories is what that shows. So if you're interested in the various categories, that's on that last page of expenses. Does anyone have questions about the compiled set of financial statements?
No.
Okay. And so in connection with that $200,000 that we spent, because we exclude capital and principal items, that's not really our total cash in, cash out. So from a cash in, cash out perspective, our cash decreased by approximately $500,000. And so to reconcile, the difference between the 200 to the 500, it's because we had capital projects, capitalized items, and then we also had principal payments on debt. So that's where we had to eat into our reserves, so to speak, by $500,000. And so to highlight some of those expenses, you can go to that next slide now, the budget to actual variances. And I just want to remind you that these are just highlights of certain expense categories. So they're not the same thing with revenues. These are just the highlights that we wanted to bring up. And so on the revenue side, we came in under budget. We had budgeted 16 million. We came in at 15.6, and so we were down $300,000 in budgeted revenues. And what makes that up is we had some school smart money that we can still bill for, turn in, claim, and that's $400,000. So that would make up that gap there. But we also had ESSER funds that we also are carrying over that we can claim next year. So that's why there's a shortfall there on the revenue side. And then on the expense side, we had budgeted $15.9 million, but we came in actually at 16.1. So we were over budget on expenses. And so these are the expenses that I wanted to highlight here, just in categories. So salaries and benefits, the majority of that, actually we came in under budget on that category, but and the majority of that surplus is due to certified salaries. And it's because there were positions we just were unable to fill last year. And so that's why we had a savings there. But we also had other expenses that offset that savings. And part of that offset is that contracted services for subs. And so that ate into that savings there. PTO, the Parent Association didn't operate EIP last year. So that's also why they came in under budget at $80,000. So that also helped the bottom line. But some of these other items I wanted to bring up, the contracted nurse. So nursing services, we were over budget. We had to contract the nurse. She switched to salary mid-year. So we have her on payroll now. So she's included in the salaries and benefits going forward. The admin tech services, so that was really over budget by almost $500,000. And what that is, there's some tech supplies that were coded to this admin tech category. Some of it probably could have been coded to like teaching resources, but if we would have moved it to teaching resources, we'd still be over budget. And what that is, there were MacBooks purchased during the year that needed to be purchased for new staff. And also we had Chromebook purchases, and it was over 161 Chromebooks purchased, and we went 1-to-1 on Chromebooks. And so there was quite a bit of expense there with admin tech. The next item is the care and upkeep at Cherry. I just wanted to note that they had HVAC and plumbing $70,000, and they also had building supplies of $53,000. And so that's why Cherry was over budget. Management information systems, that came in over budget as well by $90,000. Now what that is, Anna Pham, she's been doing a great job. She's been helping us with the loss of Peggy. She's filled in to help with compliance and data processing. And so we have signed a contract with her for this upcoming, or for our current year this year. And so we're projecting savings there. So instead of, like last year, we spent $120,000 with Anna. We're projecting just 70. So about a $50,000 savings there is what we're projecting. And then last item there is well, I did have transportation on there. We came in under budget there, so that was a good thing. That also helped our bottom line. And so some of that was just the routes. And then the last item I have there is the food service. And that is, with an increase in meals served, we had an increase in food service expense. And so we were over budget by $300,000 there. We expect that to go down this year since the meal waivers have expired. And so Armour Middle School was over by $20,000. Armour High School was over by $51,000. Oak was over by $81,000, and then Cherry was over by $100,000 is what we had budgeted. And so, like I said, we expect that to not be the case for this year just because those meal waivers have expired. Any questions?
I thought the meal waivers then they expired, but then they did get renewed. That they actually do still exist.
So the seamless summer was extended through September 30th. However, it's my understanding that that is just for summer school, and so
got it.
So we still will have to the other meal waivers have expired.
But that the overage was just because that many more students were taking meals than we had seen in previous year. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and we were reimbursed from federal state side, not 100%, but we did have a reimbursement there to offset that expense.
They don't reimburse milk.
Yeah, they don't reimburse.
Interesting. Seems like milk isn't important.
So how much did they reimburse of this? Like 80-90%?
What was the reimbursement?
I can have that number here. Bear with me just a moment.
While you're looking for that, I'm also curious why we don't budget for the contracted services for substitutes. Is that something that we don't typically need, but just had a huge need for substitutes last year?
We had a huge need last year.
Just more than normal because.
Yeah, but because the teachers who were not recruited, it's like swap. But generally, the way we budget for substitute in a normal year, we presume that each teacher will have 5 days absence. And multiply by the number of teachers and the rate, $150 or $130. So it was, and last year in the middle of the year, remember we changed also the rate from 130 to 150 to attract people, and we have parents and so on. It might be because number of substitutes last year, because of absences, sickness, and so on. So that's how we budget for substitute. And before the pandemic, we have been just fine when we did it that way.
And yes, we might want to take that into consideration. Next year could be very similar as far as.
Of course, some teachers will be 2 days, 3 days. Some few teachers will be 8 days absent. But when we look at the trend, it's generally when we budget for 5 days for each teacher booked.
And I have that food reimbursement. So we were reimbursed from state and fed $478,000, so almost $500,000 in reimbursements.
Thank you.
Any other questions over the expense variance there?
So just a question to the previous. I know we all anticipated we were going to have to pull money out of the reserves, but we're still well within what DESE says we need to have for reserves, correct? I couldn't remember. There's some percentage that we're supposed to have in reserves.
Yes.
Okay.
I think isn't it minimum of 12% or 8%, something like that? I need to check it.
Right. If we could just make sure we're
It's
still
around 12%, I think. Yeah, we are at 20% probably at this point. So if you do the 3 point whatever divided by in million, yeah, we should be around that, at least around 20. And we still expect the money, $400,000 more maybe, Stephen, did you put the grant money here or not yet? Because it's not, we have not received it at all. So
Correct.
It's not here.
We operate on a cash basis, so the cash in, cash out method. And so, no, that is not included in this revenues here. And so it's a timing issue is what it is. So we'll see it in the current fiscal year 22-23.
Which means that the current school year may be with more money than we expected. I mean,
I can give you the statute on what considers a stressed school district. Negative balance in either the teacher incidental funds, combined ending balance in the teacher and incidental funds, less than 3%, tax anticipation borrowing between February 1st and June 30th.
it's 3% of the, of.
Right, just
of-
3%.
Of, yeah, I think.
I'm glad we're
I thought it was
far
six.
higher.
We're way higher.
Okay.
I thought it was 6.
Yeah, but with UCM, I think it's higher.
Right,
UCM
right.
is 12% or something like that.
Yes, I was thinking of the
So-
UCM, they would always
Yeah,
show us where we are.
yeah. We are 20%, around that,
And SLU didn't have anything, a requirement in the contract.
They don't, but I do think, I think that measure to be more around the 12%,
Yeah.
right?
So I apologize. There's a third one for charters, insufficient fund balances or reserves, incurred debt after January 31st and before July 1st.
Any other questions on those expenses?
yeah, we should be now around 80%, but if you put the other, around 20%.
No, okay.
Amazing after a year like this.
Right, I know,
Yeah.
that we didn't
Yeah.
have to dip into the reserves more, I think that's
Yeah.
definitely a good thing.
Move to the next one?
Yes, go ahead. Was there a slide? There we go. Capital projects. So the finance committee also talked about the capital project spreadsheet. So we put together a spreadsheet. It's been through the finance committee. It's been through Dr. Jeff Toomey, Craig Scranton. The principals have also been shared with it. And so we've put together a list of capital needs for each location. And so the purpose of that was to share it with the bank for refinance and possibly taking out an additional loan for some of those capital projects. And so just wanted to give you an update on that. And one additional item on that is the banker has asked about how fast we want to move on any of those capital projects. And so I plan to put together some kind of priority list within that capital project spreadsheet.
Before interest rates go up again.
Right. And he's quoting us right now at 5%. So
Hi.
should be good. I mean, considering that interest rates keep climbing, so.
Stephen, how much of his savings on the debt service is that 5?
So I ran that last week, and if we just refinance, I was calculating about $90,000 in savings annually. If we were to take out, if we were to refi and then also take an additional loan, we'd eat up our savings, but we'd have the additional monies to do capital projects.
And none of these projects are anything for a capital campaign?
No.
None of these projects are anything for a capital campaign?
It may be linked to.
Okay,
If you, the only project I see is building a gymnasium here.
yeah,
That part of it will be raised, part of it will be financed
finance, okay.
But we're not there yet.
in a couple of years. I hope so.
10 million.
Yeah.
At the gymnasium?
Launch that campaign.
10 million.
No,
before the end of this
5 million.
fiscal year.
No, it's 5 for the gymnasium and it's 5 for the theater and the auditorium component.
One-
He quoted 8 before the construction costs went up. He mean Craig.
Yeah.
Now he's at 10. So that makes sense.
One step at a time. I think at this point, the gymnasium is the most critical one, hopefully. We can build it and, yeah. But anyway, we can, once we start the school year, we can start talking about
Capital
the
campaign.
project, yeah.
Okay.
Just some other items within those capital projects. The armor renovations, those are in progress. And the last estimate was about $440,000. We'll probably spend an additional 10% on top of that, so we're looking at about 484, 490 for that project. The Oak front asphalt, that's been completed. The Armor parking lot patch repair, that's been done. And then the Cherry Playground, Dr. Jeff is working on bids on that. So some items in progress.
Can we hear what happened with the Cherry Playground? Because there is a fairly new playground that I understand needs to be demolished now.
Cherry Playground, remember the one did by parents? It was not very new. It was when we started the schools. It was 10 years ago.
It feels like yesterday to me.
It was 10 years ago. So the way it was done, there was some defect in the rubber where it is. It became a hazard for kids because we had the salmon exposed, and we were never able to cover it, and there were a lot of dangers there. So finally, we had to take it out. That's the slide.
Right.
Part. Yeah, that's the part.
Okay.
Those are all the items that I had. Does anybody have any additional questions for finance?
No, don't think so. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Do we want to wait until Dana gets here to do governance?
Oh, yeah, she was thinking she was going to be here. We can do everything but Dana's part.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll start with a motion to approve our newest board member from the Black KC draft. So, and he's sitting here with us. Yay!
Do you want to share just a little bit about your background and sort of why you were interested in joining the board?
Sure. First, I appreciate the opportunity to serve on a board. Originally from Detroit, Michigan. Been here in the Kansas City area since February 25th, 2009, 11:43 a.m. And
very specific.
Yeah. Originally came here by the way of Alabama after graduating Alabama State University to take over a lumber treating yard that's located in Pleasantville, Missouri. In the midst of that, started getting more active through my church, St. James, and get involved in the community, and end up really getting involved with youth engagement projects. It was kind of like a deal where the men's group needed to engage more with the youth, and that just led to other opportunities like Prep KC, different things, Boys and Girls Clubs, and different things like that. And at that time, I didn't have any kids, but I was always interested because I know the impact that it had on my life. You know, I was fortunate enough to have both parents in the household, but a key component was my father. So that was really important for me to be more engaged on that end. Shortly after that, met my wife, got married, have 2 kids, a 9-week-old. So it's by the grace of God I even made it here today.
Right, that's impressive.
And a 5-year-old, Tyson and Taylor. And I love every aspect of being a parent. I know how important education is. I wasn't always the best student, but I know what it means to really grind and get through some things, and I just look forward to being a voice at the table. My perspective business is incremental development. I work almost exclusively on the east side of Kansas City. I think I have a small answer to affordable housing, to rehabbing properties and gear them towards organizations like Restart, Community Link, and New House. Also have a property management arm where we have to balance the books as we just did to look profitable. So we do manage some properties for other investors, and I love every aspect of it. I really feel like I don't have a job at this point. I wake up every day and do what I love. So looking forward to serving.
We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, now.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve Terrell Jolly as an Académie Lafayette board member?
So moved.
Get a second?
Winpass,
All right.
second.
Any discussion? All right, approved. Welcome to the board.
Everyone in favor?
Oh, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
All right, approved, and welcome to the board. Just a reminder, we have the strategic planning retreat this Saturday. So it's the second session of what we started last month. Are you joining us for that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So more to come after that.
For that, we'll be at Michael's office, so everybody saw directions in the calendar. It's also down in the crossroads with some parking that is easily accessible. There's not any homework specifically for this session, so it will just be continuing the conversation that we have and really asking critical questions to make sure we have the right objectives moving forward. And as I look through the objectives that we came up with from our first session, we are very clear on things like academics. We're very clear on just increasing diversity and what those metrics need to look like. I think really diving into discussion about the culture and how do we create the culture and how do we know if we've created the culture that we want will be a big piece of our conversation on Saturday, because it's the hardest to measure essentially, but a really critical component of what we do.
Yeah, it was great to see everything that came out of that first session. A lot of work.
Can't remember, was that first session live streamed?
It was that, so we can't do anything virtual because of the setup and discussion in small groups. There's really not a virtual option.
That was my concern, because I don't
Right.
think we have it
No.
loud in there and it's tough, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's impossible to participate in those kind of conversations virtually. So anybody that can't be there in person just wouldn't be able to.
And you said located on the calendar?
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
I'll
think it's
follow
coming up, it's coming up as, here.
Oh, okay. I will look at it.
Okay.
It's the wrong location.
It's in the crossroads.
Okay.
have a summary of that first session. It's been disseminated, or is there one?
It hasn't been sent out. Kent sort of went through and took all of the sort of things that we came up with and tried to pull all of our notes together from each of the four discussion. And so we'll start with a review of that when we're there. So.
Maybe we can send it tomorrow.
Right. And there's probably no issue with forwarding it on to everybody. So yeah, we can share what that recap looked like. And one thing that he did that was really helpful, because you guys might remember, it started with Eliman sharing just what are our challenges and really making sure that our objectives address the challenges that we have as a school. And so we even sort of drew some lines like this challenge will connect to these objectives to sort of see if there's any gap. So I thought he did a really helpful summary from our last conversation. But yeah, we'll forward that on.
A couple of other things.
Just to clarify, so will we have a facilitator this Saturday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is a facilitator. School Smart has been the one helping to identify a facilitator. His name is Kent Peterson. He does a lot of contract work for School Smart and has been very helpful. He helped to facilitate the first one and will also do the second one.
Okay, thank you.
It is very helpful to have a facilitator because we could go so
Yes.
many different directions and get nothing accomplished. So he's really good at getting things done, which we need.
Okay,
These are
perfect,
really
perfect.
A couple things before we get to board training. Just committee members, and I'll send a follow-up email on this as well. Committee members, just remember to put any lingering minutes into the folder, into the shared folder, so we can kind of close out the last fiscal year with all of the minutes in there, but then continue to remember to do that at each committee meeting. And then remember to update the agendas that are linked to from the school calendar, because that's where parents or anybody that want to know what's going on with the committee, see what's going on. So I'll send a follow-up email on that, and we'll probably just send kind of a reminder each month as those go in so that we stay in compliance with that. The other thing we wanted to talk about is we have several people with conflicts with this change to Wednesdays.
We thought we had it all figured out. We did not.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and so it's coming in. So Tuesdays or Thursdays, still staying within that second week of the month. Does anybody on here, phone or in person, including staff that need to be here, have a conflict with Tuesdays or Thursdays?
Eliman, are you aware of any?
No.
Okay,
The only thing that comes to mind would be any activities that might be occurred, but they might occur earlier in the night. Soccer, volleyball games for high school will be on Tuesdays and Thursday night. So sponsorship of those activities. Soccer, I don't know, they probably play earlier because there's no lighting out here. They probably don't play any games here, so there might be fields that have no lighting, they might play earlier. They're probably on Tuesdays.
I don't think it's gonna be an issue. So I think I'll check with the principal and let you know, but I think it should not be a big problem.
okay. And I'll send a follow-up email because we also need to check with the board members who aren't on here. We just know, at least one of them has a conflict with Wednesday nights, so.
Okay.
And then what about changing the time of the board meetings to earlier, to either 5:30, 5 o'clock?
Gotta serve food at 5.
We are,
Can always change.
X6, then I'll definitely, because I think he.
Yeah, one of the complications has been we don't know who's in person, who's virtual, and so we'll just need to start tracking RSVP so they know how many people will actually be here. But I agree, the goal is to get back to dinners.
Yeah, that's the dinner.
I'm fine with the 5 o'clock, as long as you're speaking.
Well, 5 wouldn't work.
Right,
5 is too early. So 6, remember, you start.
6 o'clock, we say 5 o'clock is probably too early.
Yeah.
Is 6 o'clock better?
Is 6 o'clock good?
Yes, 6 o'clock could work, 5 o'clock would not work, for me at least.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we used to do it, it has always been 6 o'clock. It was changed
6 o'clock.
maybe 3 to 6:30, 3 years ago or something like that.
It was John who couldn't get here by 6.
Yeah, it's John, yeah.
John has transitioned
Okay,
off,
so then we'll
so.
just go back to the 6
6.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has been always 6 o'clock, but.
Okay. All right, we'll send something out on that as well. So, as of right now, the next month still stands at Wednesday at 6:30 until we get all of that ironed out. But we'll try to iron it out before then. All right, and then the other thing, have you guys seen the emails on the, October conference for the, Missouri Charter School Association, and is anybody planning on attending?
My guess is that not everybody gets those emails,
I
probably.
don't think I got that one.
Okay.
If you want to
I'll
forward
send
it on.
out, yeah, I'll forward that out. It's a 2-day conference. It's in Columbia.
Yeah,
I think it's Columbia.
typically.
I think it's in Columbia again this time. And so even if not oh, look at her, just as I'm getting ready to go to.
She was locked out, it's not her fault.
But this is perfect timing. Anyway, I'll send that out and see if anybody can attend. And even if we split it up, maybe one of us attends the first day and one of us attends the second, because it's during the day, it's taken away from work, it's taken away from home. Yeah, but just want to make sure everybody's aware of the opportunity. We'll send that out.
I
Hi.
think generally if you attend one day, because the second day now they pair with DESI to do the charter school, DESI admin summit. That's what they started last year.
Okay.
So probably one day for a board member would be
Okay,
fine.
just the first day.
I think the second day generally is with DESI. So
Okay, that may make it easier. Okay. And now, thumb drive.
Thumb drive. I got almost here, like, wait. Yeah.
All right, so Dana's going to do some training on board roles, and I think you need to go into Mr. Bang's.
hopefully,
Sir.
I'm doing well. How are
World
you?
traveler that you are.
How do I put, okay, I need to take this here.
How are you? I'm good. How are you? How's everybody?
Doing very well.
It's almost that time, y'all.
I know, whether we're ready or not.
Wait a minute, that thing is rolling out the tank. You can be knocking on the side of the truck. It's up here. I was teasing somebody about this. They're doing this. No.
Okay, so, open.
Only 2 things on there. One of them should be pretty apparent to you all.
I need to get to this.
Beth, how much?
I think it's right there, that USB, no?
Yeah.
That one.
Under
Yeah.
location, yeah.
How much AV we're
Which one
gonna
is it, this one?
Saturday?
Oh,
I don't know that we'll need any.
Okay.
I'll find, it might,
Nope,
at most, it would be
that's
a
not
couple
it.
PowerPoint slides.
Not here?
I think that's fine.
Not the right
It's
one.
in like audio and
No.
I'm glad that we're not live streaming
Should be.
because
That's not me.
I don't, that's above my skills.
I
Is
sure.
that-
We won't need that.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I thought it was,
I think, yeah, that's what he gave me.
okay, well, try it again. Maybe I'll want
We've got whiteboards.
Oh, do you?
Okay.
We've got
water.
three big whiteboards, so we can use those, but, you know, just stick them in your car just in case.
Okay,
And but I don't think you'll need to bring them up.
okay.
Yeah, I think
And then we've got,
that's the one, yeah, it's the wrong one.
No, but I came for a portion of it.
It's the
we've
wrong
got
one.
like a bunch of drinks, and,
Yeah, and a really great,
yeah, so plenty of space.
That's the wrong one, yeah.
Okay, well, does not seem to be, he's not able to pull it up.
Is it something you can do without the slides, or is
It
it,
looks like we're gonna freeform this vote.
you're an expert.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so, the most important thing about, being on a board is staying in your lane. It is so easy to get caught up in other things with the school, and you think, I need to speak on that, or I need to be involved in that. And that is probably maybe one of the worst choices you can make as a board member, is to try to frankly do Mr. Bank's job. So, the board is responsible for, a few things. One, board and board policy, that which is, that's gonna govern the school. The policy, that's like personnel, governance, students, personnel, finance. The other part is finance. You are in charge of the money. And when I say you're in charge of the money, you all are responsible for setting the budget, making sure that your budget doesn't exceed your, revenue, and then going back and revisiting that. The, third thing that you're responsible for is, the supervision of the head of school. And you all are tasked with evaluating his work and his services to the school. And you all, in some degree, are responsible for evaluating his decision making. Let me be clear about that. If he decides to put all purple tables in the cafeteria, and every one of you hates purple, you might say to him, could you share with us about the purple table, or have that? But you all can't come in and say, call the manufacturer and say, oh no, we want red tables, so make that happen. That's his job. And if you don't like the decisions he makes, then you deal with that. But you don't go around and circumvent and deal with the vendors. This often comes up when a termination of an employee occurs. It is pretty, almost de rigueur now for that employee to write board, or the board president of the board in total, and say, this has happened to me. I'm available for comments or questions. You all are not responsible for that decision. You all are not responsible for that termination. If you have a concern that maybe the wrong reasons were chosen, like protected class, race, gender, sexual identification, etc., he made that decision based on that, yes. But you all still don't go around and circumvent and have conversations with that employee. The reason the board are limited into what they can do, a variety of reasons. You hire your head of school to make the day-to-day decisions and to run the school. That's his job. If you don't like what he's doing, then it's up to you to deal with him, but not go and change those decisions. Not unless, again, it runs afoul of the law. You You all are responsible for, we talked about the finance, you all are literally dealing with tax dollars. That's why we have to have the sunshine laws applicable to us. So you're responsible for making sure the money is used well, used appropriately, and you're accountable for it. You all have a fiduciary duty to the state of Missouri to make sure that that you're compliant if the money is being used appropriately. That's why you all get, probably should be getting it in January, a notice from the Missouri Ethics Commission. And you have to fill out that form about your, do you have any ties to the school? Do you get money? Do you have a bunch of corporations, a lot of stock? You have to answer those questions so they're making sure that you're making decisions that, again, don't run afoul of your fiduciary duty. The saying is that if you stay in your lane, you'll have a happy board, you'll have a happy head of school, and moreover, you'll have a happy sponsor. Because when boards start doing things that are outside of their lane, your sponsor gets concerned. You also put yourself personally, you can create personal liability. You have to D&O insurance, directors and officers of mission. But that doesn't cover everything that you do. And so if you are operating outside of your lane, you're coming in, helping hire and fire teachers, you're doing those kinds of things, and a teacher sues, you're protected if you stayed in your lane. You're not protected if you didn't. So, again, when those staff persons try to reach out to you and contact you, it's so important to say, thank you, I've got your information, please contact Mr. Emanuel. That's it. There's no need to have a conversation, because trust, if they sue, they're going to talk about the conversation they had with you. So, again, staying in your lane is so important. It helps the school run smoothly. It keeps the chain of command correct, and it also protects you personally and allows you to maintain your fiduciary duty to the school. One other thing to keep in mind about your fiduciary duty is that even if you're doing the right thing and somebody else isn't on your board, everybody can still be held liable. So it's important to keep your eyes on each other. If you think somebody has a conflict, even if they don't speak on it, you need to speak up. And you have a conflict of interest procedure, like there's a discussion, how should we handle it? Should you vote on it? Should you be a party to the discussions on it? All of that. So even if that person, if you know that person's mother-in-law is on the board at this company you're getting ready to buy paper from, it may be a very small, very unlikely, but somebody needs to speak up and say, look, at least speak to your colleague and say, I think you need to raise your hand and say you might have a conflict so we can deal with it. If they choose not to do it, you need to go to your board president and say, I'm aware of this. I've spoken to my colleague. She doesn't want to talk about it, but I think we should. You owe that to yourself and to the other members. So it's not just you being responsible for yourself, but it's being responsible for the whole board, because if it goes south, it's not going to just be you, it's going to be the whole board. Any other questions? It's so much funner with my PowerPoint because it's stay in your lane, so it's got like pink Cadillac, all those kind of things. So I'm sad. Yeah, I'm very sad about this. Yes, sir.
So if a board member goes outside their lane and talks to an employee who was terminated, we can all be held accountable for that action?
Well, no.
Okay.
So what typically can happen, the first issue is, has that person said something that will bind the board legally? Like, oh yeah, Mr. Bank totally messed that up. You want to stab yourself repeatedly, right? But if it's a situation where a board member has been involved, like, yeah, Mr. Bank, I think you should terminate that person. Here, let me call them and see, and da-da-da-da-da. that creates personal liability for that person, because a savvy attorney is gonna say, I'm suing Académie Lafayette, I'm suing Mr. Mbe, and who is that board member you talked to who said they were gonna get involved and keep you from getting fired? We're gonna fire them too, we're gonna put them in it. So the whole board might not be involved, that board member could find him or herself, and that's when your D&O can say, not covering it, or we will provide a defense, but if there's a judgment against you, we're not paying it. So then now your personal assets are on the line.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I mean, I would just say, particularly as a parent, I think we regularly find ourselves in positions where teachers want to complain, parents want to complain, and the only response I give to any of them is asking Mr. Mbang how the situation has been handled. That, I mean, listening is all I ever do when I want to sort of vent, but it really, as a parent, we definitely find ourselves in that position.
And you all are one of the unusual boards of the city that you have parents, or so many parents. And I would say because of that uniqueness, that you really can say, I mean, when parents would come to you, I would say, look, I know you're upset. I will absolutely listen. However, I am not going to be able to do probably anything about this. And sometimes that makes you go, this is a waste of time. Some people don't care. Okay, you know, they still want to throw up in your lap. So, but they need to understand, I'm not going to do anything about it. And the follow-up is, if based on what they say, you need to talk to the building administrator. Or you need to talk, I mean, because really the protocol is teacher, building administrator, and then Mr. Mbe. That's the protocol that we ask parents to use. So encouraging them to go back to the tree and follow it helps everybody.
And yet we did talk about, I don't think most of our parents know that protocol. They don't really, they're not well aware of that, and so I do think we need communication out to our families to just sort of talk about, here's the role of the board, here are the things that we do. If you have concerns related to your child, related to anything, here's the process to follow. We are the last people to know. If the 5 people above that list didn't do anything about your concern, then yes, let us know and we'll see how the school is handling it. But that's our only role.
Yeah, and sometimes even that doesn't mean we're going to do anything, because it may not be in our lane.
Right. We're just going to ask the school.
We're going to say, so-and-so, could you call this parent, because they're not happy.
Right.
But, I mean, obviously to me, it seems like if you're having a problem with your child's teacher, you don't go to a board member. You go to the supervisor and principal. But yeah, encouraging people follow the protocol goes a long way.
So yeah, help me remember. I do think we need some kind of memo out to families at the start of the school year, just sort of letting them know. Because I bet most parents couldn't articulate that that's what they should do.
And it could be a standing blurb in the weekly newsletter, too.
Right. Yep. If you have a problem, here's the tree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for reading. It's my 20 years of head of school. Okay? I've done private school, affluent private school, and public school. I've seen all kind of board members. Okay? And I passed in my career where I'm going to dispute authority or this is my turf or something. I am ready to work with all board members. But if the board decides to do my job, I leave it to them to do it.
Do it all.
I don't have a problem. You pay me and you do it. And the only thing I'm telling board is because I have an experience of that. Whenever you decide to do my job and mess it up, own it. Don't turn around and see me and say, why don't you? Because I'm giving you. I remember having a problem with board. My first few years, I had a board chair, amazing guy. He always tell people, I'm not second guess Mr. Mbang. I hire him to do the job, period. And we had a stable growth and everything. Anyway, he changed board president. And one day I told them, because we had some issue, I said, don't fire this teacher. Because if you fire this teacher, they're going to source. And by the time, and I laid it out, all of them. And they say, no, if you don't fight, it's a problem. You quickly come down the road and fight the teacher. But I told them exactly happened to them and lost the lawsuit. And I said, no, don't turn on me. I told you this. Well, it's what I told you. Because I'm the expert to give you, unless what I'm giving you as expertise is illegal, because you have a lawyer to say this is illegal, you can do it. But those are things that happen sometimes. People try to second guess or try to treat me like a kid, which it doesn't go well with me. Because I'm very nice and open, but I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. That when it comes down to the consequences, you ask me to own it. That's the advice I give board. And we have this school performance committee that look at all the data, something like that. Hopefully this year, it's our second year doing it. We'll make sure that the board have the right information to judge what the well-being of the school, and those are the things that board needs to look at. Are the parents fine? Look at the survey, look at attrition, those things, but not. I think trying to decide how to deal with one parent or not.
I would say to you that if you are doing his job, then you really are you can't fairly evaluate him on how he did his job because you do his job. And, if you are a board, and one of the trainings I'm going to do is talk about board meetings and content, because I think that is where boards are woefully, not just you all, but boards across the board tend not to get into the meat of topics because they spend so much time doing things. They spend a lot of time doing stuff, and people, by the time you get to the meat or the meaty subject, you're exhausted. You all have worked all day. Maybe ran by home and threw some dinner at your children and came here. So it's important how you schedule what you're going to talk about and what order, because you're not getting a chance to talk about the data and how can the board's policies support the data and drive success. If you don't, if you spend an hour and a half talking about some other things, you lose that. So that's coming. I won't bore you with that tonight. And I will send the PowerPoint to Beth to share with you all so you can still have it. Yes, sir.
Can I make a recommendation and a comment?
Yeah.
You might save yourself a little time if you upload your Google Drive.
Yeah, no, here's what happened.
Oh, okay.
I would have done that,
okay.
But I kind of got a reminder, like, you're coming tonight. It was like, So I literally ran from enough from out of the city in to make sure I got this done, and then I got almost here. It's like, so it's been that day.
Okay.
But typically, I would have sent it to Mr. Mbang, and it would have been.
But I don't know if you ever use Google, but you can have there all the time. So anywhere you go, you could just pull it.
And I probably could pull it up if I was willing to fight with him right now, but I just, so far today, it's not been that day.
This worked out perfect.
Huh?
This worked out perfect.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, this is one of those situations where the internet has not lost yet again. I've failed again.
I did have one question. Would you describe would you describe this board as a working board?
Well, it depends on what you mean by working.
Well, like you kind of described about saying in line, from previous board experiences, sometimes people get the lines blurred.
Okay,
so they get more active in on the working aspect of it versus the governance.
Okay, so that's why I say I'm not sure what you mean by working board, because some boards, when you say working board, like, is this a vital board? Are they doing the things they're supposed to do it? But if you're saying, no, there have been periods where, I've had to be a little more like, no, don't do that, but not where they have been totally in the other lane driving and running over Mr. Bank. Rarely have I seen that. But this is always a good reminder.
Yeah, I think the culture of the board changed a lot. I heard things not with me, though, prior to me. But I think when I was hired, One thing I told the board that you don't micromanage me. I was hired anyway, and they really respected that and making sure. And give you an example of when the board, think about this growth. Remember, when I arrived, the board had been working, this was the board trying to do the growth. Okay? The board meeting and trying to grow the school to a high school and so on. And I was watching the infight in the board. Some board members wanted to deal with school district Southwest, some wanted, and so on. So, and then after I told the board, what you should do is vote a motion, say we let the head of school present us a growth plan, going to work with the business manager and whoever. We presented a growth plan, and we're going to vote yes or no once it's presented. I mean, it took 6 months, Jackie and I and Westbrook, and we present a growth plan. The board look at it, say, okay, how are we going to get the $7 million, something like that, and we present it to the parents. But the board was no longer involved in nitty-gritty how to do this and something, because they even hired an expert consultant at that time. I'm watching them wasting money, and I'm saying, you don't do it that way. Vote a motion and say, present us how to do it. So that's what we did, and they voted yes, and we moved forward. And even for buying this building, it's me talking to the real estate guy. Unfortunately, he passed away. Really good guy, walking around, and because we had some board members who were for or against this building, but they were not involved, because if they were involved, but at the time there was some infight. We don't want this. Until they decided to buy it and move forward. So sometime if you're a new organization, boards tend to be more involved in certain things, but it creates instability generally in the leadership.
And I think sometimes where the lines can potentially blur is because a lot of the work happens within the committees, and that's when you're rolling up the sleeves. And I think that's where sometimes we have to make sure we don't overstep.
Okay. We're glad you made it.
Development, is Celia there?
I don't see Celia. I don't.
Well, she know you're meeting today. I hope she's not thinking of Monday. I don't.
Well, I know she was one that had said she had a challenge with Wednesdays. I don't know.
Yeah, we used to meet on Monday. This is the first time we now meet on Monday. But there's also a conflict with Wednesday.
So, as you said, what you said was, I don't know how much you can chip in as a development chair, is the summary of what was done in 21, 22, and then the next slide is what is going to be done for this school year. So those action she realized creating a strategy plan, annual direction for all development members, develop a realistic fundraising strategy, plan and execute the flagship fundraising events. We had few fundraising events last year. Some of them were more successful than we thought they would, like the run for
the Musketeer March.
Musketeer March.
Awesome.
It's funny. When I proposed Musketeer March first, the PTO was swapped. They were giving us 20 or 30,000. I said, let's create it. You own it. They refused. I told them it's the money maker. They had an issue, so I said, let's take it back. But now it's giving us $60,000 for limited efforts. So
yeah.
It's run by somebody else.
Right.
Yeah. And that organization does a great job.
Executive yearly calendar and establish potential partners for prospective donors. For this coming year, is creating a development fundraising event folder. So distributed to week, August 29th to all students. So, yeah, so there's a folder to share to our community to see this is what we're developing, what we're doing for events, and explaining it to all our students. We're a development task force team for each campus. So having a task force will help for each campus to help development. And Musketeer supporting Musketeer, a resource built of local businesses from either current or alumni AL families who want to share and support AL. The information will be listed on our website under support. So what it means is a page on our website to put all the businesses that are supporting the Musketeer March, like a advertisement at the same time to support them. Calendar of events, development, completed, contracted, and distributed week of August 29th to all staff. Annual fundraising appeal is underway and will be released November 9th, 22. For this year, so there's certain things here, the date of each event. One of the events, I think we need to, I'll show you email about the evening in Paris. It's going to be a discussion because we'll have a discussion with her and look at the date. Okay. Because previously it was May the 6th, and it was changed to May the 5th. So on the fall we'll do the raffle. Generally, the main event on the fall is the raffle ticket. Just bring us around $60,000 also net, or 70. And winter is mainly Generation Day, November, around November. I would say it's fall too. Last year we coupled it with doing art exhibits.
Yeah, the art walk.
Art walk, yes. So, any question or concern? So this is what we raised. This is a net of what we raised, around $232,000 for last school year between annual fund and different events. I think the annual fund is lower than what we used to do. We used to raise maybe $200,000 or $250,000 around that.
And I do think that kind of information is helpful when we see, like, how much did this raise, see the last 2 years, right? How does this compare to?
The last 5 years?
Yeah, especially pre-pandemic, looking at how it compares there.
And not that we need to answer that right now, but just as we look at these kinds of numbers, it's helpful to just sort of see what's the trend, where are we? Are we going down? Are we going up? And I'm also curious from other board members, I think the kinds of things that we went over on these slides, these are the things that I think are really helpful for us to get just in a report ahead of the board meeting, that we don't necessarily need to look through the slides. It would be on us to actually read through the information, right? But anything that doesn't require discussion by the board, I would love to see us move towards getting a report and keeping our board meetings for the things that require discussion, for the challenges that you want to make sure we're aware of, those kinds of things, just to your point, so we don't run out of time to actually have the discussions that we need to have as a board.
Okay, so like information like on this one can be shared.
Right, yes, I think it's good information. We need to be aware of it, but it doesn't necessarily need to be presented at a meeting, is my opinion, but I'm
just getting it ahead of time the same way we do the financials, so we can ask a question.
Okay.
Right.
Just as long as it came in enough time to where we could propose to add it to the agenda. Like, 'cause we might see the last 5 years of something and it might be like, whoa, we need to talk about this.
Right.
Like, and email's not always the best place to do it.
Yes,
So,
agreed. The board meeting would be to raise questions that we have about sort of anything. And so I think we would still want staff available to answer questions, but there might not be any.
Should we, I think we have something, but should we, just like you and I and Michelle and Michael, that folder we do put the
drive.
the Google Drive, maybe if you have a folder for the meeting, would it be easier for you to share them? You can go on Google Drive and see the different reports.
Yes.
Which would be,
Yeah, so we do have a Google Drive where we keep some stuff. We haven't started to use it in that way, but
Yeah, because we have a development drive, we have a governance drive, but yeah, something that is just the board meeting.
board meeting reports,
Yeah.
so that each department, you can go and look at them. And then,
You can go back and review.
and the presentation was a big point, or important information to discuss.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That will make us a 1-hour board meeting.
Without a lot of the emails for the finance, I mean, I'm wondering if all of the.
Right, can just be in one place.
Just
Yes.
drop it all in a folder.
Share it, and then we get the,
Right.
So there would be, you would find the minutes in that folder, you would find the finance report, you would find development report.
The link could be sent out that all the documents are updated
Right.
and ready to review for the next board meeting. But
Yes.
then you can just go to the link.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Okay.
Then it can be uploaded, I mean, crazy board, and they always send it out 3 days in advance.
yep.
Right.
So when we get there, it's just like,
Yeah, and that's how we get the minutes, we get the finance report in advance like that, and we just need,
Is 3 days enough time to review the documents before?
I think it depends on what day we have the meeting.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Right.
if it's on Monday, nobody gonna feel.
Right, yes, I don't wanna do it on the
So on average, we probably just get them 3 days before right now anyway.
Right, yes.
So,
If we look at it like 3 working days.
So, I mean, that would be our goal for the next meeting, to try to have those things set up. So we can talk about what that would take,
Okay.
but I think that would be great.
A weekly meeting, we can talk about it.
Okay.
So,
And the only other thing on here was just this is showing the annual fund appeal closes on November 1st, but I don't think we can take funds in after this fiscal year and apply to last,
No, it stops on,
June
June the 30th.
yeah.
June 30th. Head of school report. So enrollment, so I have a motion there that I change the cup in kindergarten. I talked to Beth also changing the cup for ninth grade. I don't know if we should do it now or next meeting. And I'll talk about it in the back to school report. And few information you need to be aware of with the MC6, Missouri School Improvement Plan, number 6, and a little bit of school safety. So, this is the enrollment we have as of, I think it was last week, by grade level, which 1,385 students. Last year we were at, how do I say, 1260, around that. When we start the school year, it's 1260, around that. So, so we have some progress here, and one thing I want to draw your attention is the kindergarten enrollment. There's an issue, still an issue around this area of kindergarten enrollment. We plan to get 220. Remember, we increased our kindergarten enrollment. Previously, it was 200. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we used to take. We moved it to 210 and 220, but we still are struggling to fill up the 200. So, but we still have applications coming in. The first year, we did not have that wait list. Maybe because we took everything we used to have. For the new board members, just to inform you that 5 years ago, we used to take 120 kindergarten. What we used to take with a ways of course. Every time that we each wait list of 100 at least, they will never be able to get in. So once we bought this building and we grow, that's when we expanded from 120 and took the whole wait list to 200. So, and then we moved it on again to 220. So the reason why I'm saying it is what we're planning to do in view of our issue of finding teachers, I mean, all the teachers, and we can save one teacher and move the teacher to first grade by doing 4 kindergarten classes at Cary and 5 at Oak. There will be around the same number of students per class. It means that we will not be taking any more students coming during the school year, kindergarten, so it will be full. But we'll be saving one teacher And by the way, on our budget, the current budget, we put 200. That's what we have. But the budget doesn't follow the board cap of 220. So that's why I'm asking you to change it to 200, which means that instead of having 5 kindergarten classes at Cherry, we'll have 4 with 90 kids, and then 110 at Oak is 5 kindergarten classes. So the following year, when those kindergartners arrive in first grade, most of the time we have we have a wait list in first grade we have never been able to satisfy anyway. Because now we have, I think, 30 or 20 still in first grade, and we're not able to get in. So we hope that next year, generally with the first grade wait list, we can move back to 5 classes. That's how. So, any question about these enrollment numbers? Yeah.
So is the plan to move, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Oh,
So the plan to move that additional teacher, am I hearing that correctly, to the first grade or just somewhere else?
Somewhere else, but mainly first grade.
Okay.
The reason, one of the reasons is, let me give you, I'll talk about it in teachers issue we're having this year. One of the first grade teachers, we have 4 teachers, I think, during the summer who left for one reason or another. Okay? We don't have time. Well, we didn't have time to finish the process to replace them. I have 5 teachers. The last one to leave, the first grade teacher, on, when was it, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you how do you say it, you advertise and get anybody hired, it's going to be 3 months coming from we don't know where. So so it is something that we thought maybe one way to resolve that is to get 4 classes there and in kindergarten and move one to first grade at 10.
Okay.
So
and we've already budgeted for the 200, but we had a cap of 220.
Yeah, we budgeted for 200, but we have a cap of, the board voted for a cap of 220.
Okay. I guess I'm trying to figure out, how does that work? How do you, if you had the budget of only 200, but the cap was higher than that, it would make sense to keep our cap where our budget aligns. So it would make sense to have it at 200.
So this is if you keep the cap there, which means is anybody coming all the way into April, applicant in kindergarten, you have to take them. You can't say you don't, and which means that you may be having at Cherry 5 classes of 18, something like that, or 17, as opposed to 21. And you have to hire an additional teacher to do that. So that's the issue, is not being able to fill it to the 220 now, at this point now, but also shortage of teachers.
I do think aligning with our budget and the shortage of teachers makes sense to have the 200 cap, but you.
Lauren, does that answer your question or no? You have?
Yes.
my only question is, I think what we've seen historically, because applications are still open, and what we've seen historically over the years is minority families, minority students enrolling later, sometimes even after the start of the year. So it looks like, in looking at this, if I'm looking at the numbers right, we're starting to get a little skewed non-minority, and are we going to find ourselves in a situation where we're capping and not?
Well, I think it's not during the school year that makes a difference at all. It's before the lottery. Generally, the issue we've had the last 2 years is the targeted minority zones to recruit. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think it is when we say late application, you would be talking about applying in February as opposed to applying in November.
Okay, so it's.
Yeah, it's in that
Okay.
part.
Yeah,
But
'cause I
not,
think we've seen it's like,
but not now. Now the people you're receiving are, who are other schools, they're not happy, they'll come here.
okay,
Or people who decline and then realize, hey, it was a mistake, I'm coming.
yeah.
So we still always have that.
What was the decision to go from 200 to 220 a while ago? What drove that?
So the reason why we did it was we wanted to build into our enrollment progression the high attrition between first grade and second grade. Okay? What we wanted is 5 kindergarten, okay, 220, each of them have 22. With attrition of 5% normal, we go down to 210 for first grade, and we build the 10% attrition between first grade and second grade. That's why some parents start panicking, oh, my kid doesn't read but because we're going to move from 5 classes in first grade to 4 classes in second. That has always been our model. Our model has always been 5-5, 4-4 all the way per building. So the reason why we added it was even if it's attrition between first grade and second grade, we still have full classes. Now, if the attrition doesn't work, then we're in trouble because we have a higher number. But what we will not be doing in first grade, by the way, by doing that, we're not backfilling during the school year. So because we're building the attrition already in first grade, that's why we increase kindergarten, and we don't take almost anybody in first grade, and we don't take, because there is no seat available in second grade.
Soon it will be 9 in kindergarten and 9 in first grade classes.
This year, we propose that it's going to be 9 in kindergarten and 10 in first grade. First grade is full. We don't have any, it's full. We have a wait list, I say. In general, that's how the first grade functions. So we're hoping that with the full first grade, we'll have 8% attrition go to be able to keep out our projection of 4 second grade class.
But I know the other piece of what I've heard you talk about is working with families more to understand how immersion works and what you'll see over time, right? They do lag in reading because there's so much effort in just the French piece, but by third grade, they catch up and by far, right? So, but it is nerve-wracking for parents. And so more just conversations and information for parents about what does it mean to be in immersion school and what can you anticipate seeing in your kids, so that hopefully we can start to address the attrition between that first.
Well, if our attrition lowers, we'll have a problem in second grade because we don't have the classrooms to get 5-5.
Oh, got it. Okay, then maybe
that's
we
the
don't
issue.
About that.
Well, we will still do that, of course,
right,
helping people to understand, especially second grade, so that we don't lose kids in second grade going to third grade. Because that's why parents start panicking, but they don't realize that the more they stay here, the higher the performance of the kids. If you look at our middle school, for instance, I mean, they do much better than their peers in English language. So that's the model we did that's why we added it to account for attrition between first grade and second grade. The reason. But normal year, we used to have 200 only.
So I think we need a motion to approve the kindergarten enrollment cap of 200, correct?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Everyone in favor? Any discussion?
Discussion first.
Oh, wait. Any discussion? No. Everyone in favor? Oh, did you have discussion? It's a bit backwards.
Aye.
Right. Aye. Motion carries. I think we still so Gwen had to leave. We still have a quorum because we have 7. Okay. The quorum
Yes,
vote?
once you have a quorum for the meeting,
Uh-huh.
you have a quorum.
If somebody has to leave and can't vote.
Oh,
Okay.
good to know.
So
You're a wealth of information.
this part is the toughest one is about the staffing and the consequences. So we had our leadership planning retreat. Every year we do a planning retreat to plan for the school year and prepare it. Staffing turned out to be extremely challenging this year, and to the point that I had a discussion with Beth and Michelle of the idea of moving the start of the school year from next Wednesday to Monday. So the reason is, remember that every year we will have, because of the growth, 7 new teachers. Even if nobody leaves, we'll have to hire around 5 in elementary and 2 in middle and high school. So this year, as I told you, we lost 5 during the summer who already signed their contract. Okay? So on top of that, we have an unusual lengthy process with J1 visas. J1 visa, we provide 2 types of visa, H1B and J1. J1 used to be a fast track. I mean, if you hire somebody J1 in no more than 2 months, they're here. But this year, people we hired in April, they're still in the process. Okay? Because the State Department changed the rules, adding credential evaluation, meaning those teachers need to send all their credentials to a U.S. agency to evaluate it, send it back to see if they have equivalency of a BA in teaching. Fortunately, the Francophone countries do not function the same way for teaching as U.S. In U.S., you go and get a BA in teaching. Over there in France or Senegal, anywhere, you can go and get your BA in economics. And then you sit for the exam. There's a test to enter teaching. Let's say you have 100 people, they take 10 or 20 who pass the test. Those 20 will go to the School of Education and spend 2 years, 1 year of training to be a teacher, full time. That's how we do it. So what these agents are looking at is the BA economics to tell you, even if the guy went after, passed the exam, and he or she does the training for certification and everything, they're going to look at the BA in economy and say, these guys are not fit. So we're having a back and forth discussion explaining people who used to be fine to hire, suddenly this year we're having that issue. So, and all this issue brings it down to we have an abnormal number of teachers still in the process and applying for visas. There will be, we think that most of them are already in the process of getting the appointment. We only have 2 with some issues, but we hope that, and the second thing is the interns won't be here the first day. So they'll be delayed until Monday. So that's the reason why with the teacher, with the principal, we were thinking, why don't we move it, give us time to work with an abnormal number of substitutes that we're going to start with, but also a couple of other teachers will be arriving by then. So that's our big issue.
And total number of missing teachers for day 1 was like 11?
No, more than that.
13 or 15?
Let me check what we have.
And a lot from Africa.
Yeah, it's 15. Yes, 15 around that. Almost 5 per building, I think.
I guess my worry is, like, a couple more might be here by Wednesday, but the chaos that causes for parents at this point to change the first day of school, that is really difficult to change at this point, in my opinion.
How many more will be here by that following Monday?
Maybe 3 more.
And the interns, though, right?
Interns,
Correct,
yeah.
yes, the interns will be here by then.
Yeah, so that's one of the issues. We've always fought to get an early opening, but I'm just sharing with you what issue we have at this point.
What do we do, so what does it look like if we start on the 17th? What do we do with all of those missing? And
Substitutes.
Heather says it's 20 total missing on 8/17.
Okay. And it's mainly at Cherry, for instance, they're missing substitutes.
Nobody wants to be a substitute in this environment. It's impossible to find.
So it is an unusually difficult situation. So if you open it, we will the parents will be understand they won't be having their normal teacher there for few weeks maybe.
Right. I mean, that's why I don't know that it matters, because by Monday we have a couple more and the interns, yes, but regardless, they're starting without their permanent teacher. They're not here, and they won't be here by that Monday either.
But how would, I mean,
You got 9 kindergarten classes or whatever that are going to have no help.
Yeah, it's like, what if you don't have the substitute? I mean, what are you doing with the kids?
so we're missing at least 4 substitutes at Cherry at this point. And I think few at Armour. Oak has the less problem there because they have the substitute to start. But we have teachers with visa waiting for, to get an affordable airfare to get here. So it's extremely high too. But that's the problem we have this year.
Combine the classes won't be something.
You don't even have the room to combine the classes.
There's a lot of classes to combine.
Would 3 more days allow you time to find more substitutes?
Heather, can you take the floor and speak a little bit?
I don't know if I really want the floor. I've actually been texting with a prospective sub just now, one of our summer school teachers who she's available for 2 days, but then she goes back to college. So yeah, with 20 classrooms missing their teacher, it's been really, really hard. About half of them or more will not be French speakers. So that's another issue, is that despite our trying to onboard them well, we've invited them for their early staff development to get them trained. Not all of them are going to be experienced, certified, French-speaking professional teachers. So I know that that's always whenever we start without the regular teachers, there are glitches and parent concerns. So that's probably the biggest issue. The other issue, and I heard several people mention that, 3 more days won't necessarily get all the rest of the teachers here. No, it won't. But I think what it does do is for the teachers who arrive late, like possibly this weekend, it gives us more days to onboard them. And it also means less time with a substitute. So obviously this is a huge challenge for a lot of our parents. I know that other schools are starting later anyway, due to the change in the state law. I know it'd be a huge imposition for so many of our parents, but it's kind of a trade-off of we start on time without the supervision, without certified staff, without all hands that we need, without French speakers, or we start a little bit later with hopefully our new foreign teachers having a little bit more time to maybe find a place to live. So it's kind of a trade-off. So thank you for listening. We've been trying to update the numbers, as we go. As Mr. Mbang said, sometimes the visas come together really quickly at the end, and we find out from somebody, I got my embassy appointment for Monday. They try to get a plane ticket as quickly as possible. So it's a little hard to predict, how many exactly will be here when. As he said, there's, I think, 2 that we're still having some issues on that may be a more significant delay. but most of the rest of them are progressing. So keep your fingers crossed that the embassy appointments come through and that they can get plane tickets.
So two questions I have. One, what do the principals want to do? And then secondly, you mentioned some of the challenges with airfare and getting affordable airfare. Can the school subsidize that airfare?
We had a discussion about that.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
And see how we can help, at that point. We already subsidized the relocation already.
Yeah.
It's the problem we have this year is with districts being short, they're almost buying out teachers. They pay more money.
Yeah.
And I have at least 3 teachers told me we're being paid more.
Yeah.
Which we do need to sort of address that, because I agree. I mean, there are massive teacher shortages across the country. I was just looking at Missouri's statistics. I think there are 2,000 open teaching positions today in the state of Missouri.
What?
90,000 national.
Right. I mean, there are ridiculous shortages. And the teachers coming out of teacher ed programs locally, about a third the number of teachers are pursuing a future in like nobody is going into teaching and everybody is getting out of teaching. So this is not unique. That we obviously have unique challenges because they're coming internationally, but the fact that we are going to lose teachers to other districts who will pay them more, that is absolutely an issue that we're going to need to figure out because they all have massive shortages.
Does SLU have any?
I mean, they have a teacher ed program.
Yeah.
I think what protects us is the fact that if our teacher are on a visa, generally we keep them longer.
Yeah.
H-1B.
But
once people have green cards, they can go to a private school or to a district to teach French. It is not, it's not typical. It is, for this year, it is more than what we've did before. For instance, the last teacher who left went to Canada. Okay? Left to go to Canada. So, one of our priorities this year is how do you address that? Of course, teacher satisfaction. I mean, I think in terms of how we treat our teachers, in my opinion, but don't forget also that we're attracting teachers from other districts, though.
Right.
Districts who are paying more than us. We attract teachers who are from districts that pay more than us. We attract more than losing to them. But because the longer you stay with us, the less incentive you have for them to lose them to go somewhere else.
Right, because as teachers move up, we actually pay very competitively.
Very competitively.
Who don't have.
Yeah. It's at the beginning and the first 10 years where we have
Opportunity for sign-on bonus?
We did not do that. What we did was encourage, because remember, we're taking our teachers from outside.
Right,
We don't have teachers we don't have issue with teachers locally that we need to hire locally, like SPED, English teachers. We have those. What our issue is the 7 extra teachers you need to hire every year, plus those who left, especially late. In the summer. That's where we have an issue. And despite that, I think we have the number of teachers that we hired. It's just that hopefully by the end of August, almost everyone less should be here.
I mean, I think this is outside of our lane a little bit. And personally, I would like to hear what I don't know. This is an operation of the school. This is like kids. This is safety. Like, I don't feel like I have the ability to make this call on this decision. I know we should think about moving the date, considerations there, but fundamentally an operation of the school kind of question. And I would like to defer to leadership, principals.
Yeah, I would like to hear what the principal
said it, yeah.
Well, we can set the calendar when they tell us what they should.
But I'd like to hear what
do.
the principal
Yeah.
wants.
Dr. Goldman, what do you think as parents?
I think it's a balance if really the parents don't get benefit on a Monday instead of a week. That's one thing if it's not. We hope it's better by Monday. Wow.
Yep.
And I think even though interns may arrive, they can't run a classroom. And so that's probably not a reason to delay it, but I mean, if we really have some good data suggesting that we're gonna be up by more than just a couple teachers on a Monday, that would be a reasonable consideration. And I agree with Michael too. I mean, there's a lot of safety issues and other things, and classroom numbers and all those things that.
I think if you operate in full transparency, they won't have any choice but to respect it, because everybody see the climate around.
And yet for working families who have nowhere to send their kindergarten, right? I mean, they're counting on this. And if you're going to have to take a vacation day from, or maybe you're not going to be allowed to take a vacation, right? So it's, what do you do for those families? That's my biggest concern, is parents who they need school to start on the day that we identified. But I take your point. But
if we let them know enough in advance, it's kind of like when you have an illness, you know,
Yeah, I was gonna say you
have
operate
to
just like
figure it
COVID.
out.
I know.
I mean, I know, and it stinks. I mean, coming from a two-person working family, it stinks to try to do that. But I would like to hear from the principals.
Is Marcia there?
Have they all run away?
They've all quit their jobs.
Yeah,
No, I haven't quit yet. I'm still here.
We're happy to see you.
I'm still here. It's a tough situation. I am sensitive to the parent issue and how difficult that might be. However, I am also, from an educator's perspective, very concerned, because for the first time, I find that my building is down 6 teachers, and I have 2 subs that I can count on. So I feel that an extra 3 days, although we can't predict who's going to get here when, however, it would give us some more time, because I'm still reaching out to agencies, for example, trying to procure subs. So that would give me, you know, some wiggle room to figure some things out, because I'd much rather have somebody, you know, qualified to supervise kids than to just have a warm body in the classroom who I'm not confident can manage, you know, our students. So that's where I am. My preference would be to delay for a few days and give us some time, because already I'm talking to, like, my returning teachers came back today, and a couple of them are putting their feelers out, talking to other people to see if they can generate, you know, some response. And so I feel like a few more days would give us some time to put some things in place that's a bit more secure and have credible people in our building. So, yeah.
Is Jean-Claude there? Or you don't want to talk? Or because you're in a better shape or what?
No.
I'm joking.
It's
Go ahead.
about the number, yes, probably, but you know, what I would say is probably these 3 days will allow us to have more time onboarding the new one. Okay, a good start is always important, it's critical, the start of the school year. And if we have more time onboarding those substitute teachers, we have more time allowing them to meet with their peers, the returning teachers, and get more information about the curriculum, about the structure, about the routine and procedure. It will help, and it will minimize any downfall for the beginning of the school year. That's what I would say. But I always ask also the question, and it is a good question, and I think my colleague answered that question, how much we will accomplish during those 3 days. It may be a lot, it may be something minimal. but at least for the whole group is onboarding and allow teachers to, the substitute teacher, to be more prepared for the school year.
We have, for instance, yesterday, today I sent an email to, a letter to one embassy, because one of our teachers who got everything ready, they gave him an appointment of June 2023.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But generally when we send a letter, they respond. So that teacher may have an appointment next week. Get a flight ticket and will be here maybe on Monday or Tuesday. So those are the issues sometimes we deal with.
Where did those 3 days go? Did they get added on, or?
We may not need to. We may not need to change anything. The reason is we already have our number of hours. Remember now in Missouri, it's a number of hours, not number of days. It's 1,044 hours. We have already 1,190 hours. That's why we don't have to pay back the snow days. So, however, we will need to file a change on our DESI. So we need to change that.
So I'm going to ask a question. This is way out of my lane. I'm not in education. Can specials teachers sub in those classrooms during this interim period and not have the specials classes, or can you not do that?
We do that. We've done that in the past.
Okay.
We've done that, yeah.
Okay.
And yet I know it is very difficult for teachers to have to be a sub and have their own teaching load, because then they lose their plan, right? So it works for a really short-term period. It's not a long-term solution, but it can fill gaps, but it's really tough on teachers.
Yeah.
So is there any alternative for like the upper room or something to be provided for families that really need access?
What I heard was upper room cannot operate until Monday.
We don't even have,
already
regardless of when
we don't have upper.
Already the first 3 days we
this is
figured out how to pick up earlier when.
Jeff, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to answer that question about upper room is not going to start till the 22nd. I would also mention that, Terrell, I'm the director of operations. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're probably asking who this guy was.
No, I know you know it all.
No, I don't.
And Jeff was a superintendent at North Platte. So he's done the job already.
But we have construction going on this campus, and we're a little bit behind. So any days, if that's a consideration that Mr. Mbing had, that he would opportunity, we're just a little bit behind. And any days would give us that opportunity just to finish that project and try to keep us on target to get those rooms open.
I guess back to
Madam Royce?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I don't know if Madam Royce had a chance to kind of weigh in.
Yeah, he was the first one.
Yeah,
so
you guys heard my vote.
Okay, so
That, yeah, I think it would give us some teachers, new teachers, subs, and breathing room for just a number of different things. You know, in addition to the teaching staff, we are down other staff members. We lost our IT assistant over the summer. And so the hit is transportation and IT and teachers and subs and upper room. So we have felt this strain of not enough people in every single area of the school. So.
Is there any options for families that really need it, that don't have anywhere else for their kindergartner to go? Is there anything we can do for them? And the answer could be no.
I don't see anything.
What's your address, Beth? We will send them to your house.
My 8th grade student she can take 200 kids. She'd be fine. Yeah. But I think that's a helpful perspective. We probably do need to just sort of vote on it and decide. It seems like there's just no other option, that we cannot create the environment that we want on the first day of school.
Is Lauren there?
Is Lauren? Yeah, so
Yeah.
she put in the chat that she's concerned for parents who will need to make a quick pivot, so we need to decide tonight so that parents can be notified immediately if it is going to change. If additional days will provide us even a handful more teachers, she suggests we go for that.
Yeah. I know I can't vote, but that would be my thought.
We still love your perspective. It doesn't have to be an official vote. It's really helpful to have your perspective.
I hope it's not my electric.
Oh, well.
Man, that's why I wanted to connect it. Man, that's too bad. That's why I wanted to connect it. But I don't have, wow, okay. Maybe I should take
I say we go ahead and take a vote.
the Chromebook.
Right, so I think we need a motion to recommend moving the start of school to August 22nd.
My power cord's long, can be long enough for me to run up and get it?
Yeah, we do it.
There's an extension.
Where?
So do you not have one?
No, I don't have an extension. What's wrong with this? This company used to be longer than that, fully charged. Why would it?
It's not yours.
Assumption is he wants to move it too.
Yeah,
He said that's what he wants.
Oh. Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty long. Let's do that.
all to get back on top.
Yeah, so, no.
He wants you to go through.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
We're not waiting for this.
Should I?
The live stream's dead.
Yeah, the live stream's.
Oh, okay, got it.
Wait.
I was like, that's fine, we don't need to see it, we do need the live stream,
Like,
yes.
are you kidding me right now?
Right.
Oh, my God.
What happened to the school?
It comes back and y'all are all gone.
Yeah, we're like.
Parents are like, what
what was
the
the
So we're gonna think that was planned.
That it seems
Yeah,
we're
when you
late.
get home, your phone
Yeah, I'm like.
levitating up.
Oh my gosh, I have text. Oh, no.
I didn't understand what was going on either.
Right, I was like, we can go, what's the problem? Let's move this along. Oh. Oh, wow. Some of them return. Yeah, some of them will decide to go back to their country, some of them will move. After a certain number of years, then they can get sort of a more permanent visa, because the visa that they come here on oftentimes requires them to stay here working initially until they can, if they choose citizen, they choose to. But, yeah, the visa process has been so complicated. I mean, the last 2 years, we haven't even been able to get the teachers we want because of COVID and borders shut down and everything. Now the visa process changing does not help. It is something long-term we're gonna have to figure out, like, it's just getting worse. We've always started the year with some shortages of teachers, but never like this.
And a lot more higher.
Right.
20 international students. Carlos tells me that's the most amount of students
That has ever,
trying to process at once. The laws,
right.
that credential thing and the English thing, means that they're going back and forth,
Yeah.
trying to get it to that bachelor's. And you're kind of waiting for that person to get their stuff
Right,
together.
yeah.
And then go to the credential service, pay for it, they have to pay for those services too.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
Back and forth, they have to pay for that English test, and then they have to show that they have $2,000 in the bank available to them coming here, and it's not something that we can offset.
Yeah.
So like, we give them an $1,800 living stipend, but that can't count towards that $2,000. It has to be money that's occupied by them. But basically, they have to show that if something happens, that they can kind of support themselves, and go back to the country if they need to. Get all the insurance they need.
Your
Yeah.
I think insurance are fine. I don't know why there's a delay.
Yes, my computer.
No, I don't, but
You wanna just use,
I was thinking.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like having full insurance back. Like
I mean, you need me to get on YouTube Live, right? The screen is not as important. I think we can just sort of talk through bullet points.
You have to log in as communications to get onto YouTube Live.
Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and do that?
Kelly is probably so stressed right now. Yeah, how she can help.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, are you
She doesn't
back
know
up?
why, but suddenly her ears perk up.
Okay, it's back.
Okay.
Maybe,
You know, that's another thing to educate parents on is what these teachers go through and
Right.
do to
I
come
know,
and
to
teach
get here.
our kids. I mean, I
Bob,
think we as parents can yeah, and that's, yeah, I mean, that's all, that's all.
now what you need is go back to the live stream.
Right.
Is that, who has, Google, how to say it, YouTube, is it dead or no? Do you know?
Yeah, it's off, so
Off?
it's back on.
I need to get back, okay. Let me do. Not even the,
Are we gonna vote right away, or can I go to the bathroom real fast?
I'm sure the others are on.
I think you got time.
Okay, can we that close?
Just tell me your vote.
I'm sure the others are on, still on Zoom, probably.
Right, yes. Everybody's still on Zoom. I have them.
Okay.
And
The
somehow,
audio is still going on YouTube. I'm listening to the conversation.
oh, interesting. The audio stayed on YouTube, so it's been going the whole time. Just not the visual.
How's that possible?
I don't know. That's very weird that his computer could shut down and, oh, you know what? Because we're called in from
Yes.
the conference phone.
Yes.
That's what the audio, right, so we're still on.
So can we just, do we need video? Can we just do it now?
Is it, or ever,
What was your question?
I thought some people
We're still on live, first key, live, YouTube.
Okay, now we are on YouTube Live. We are back.
they've heard
Right.
the whole time on YouTube.
Okay, good.
Okay.
What about meeting? It's gonna be an interesting one to follow. Okay, guys, we apologize. We didn't know you were listening. Okay.
We didn't say anything bad.
Okay, let's keep going now.
Okay.
So, Jessica was trying to give because she's in charge of working with the visas. Can you clarify it for people?
But I think we're ready to take a vote.
Okay.
Okay. Are there other things that we want to talk about while we're waiting on Michelle? And then we'll come back to the vote. Okay. We were apparently live the whole time through audio because, but now we're back. Okay, so I think we need to take a vote. We need a motion to move the first day of school to August 22nd to address the teacher shortage.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. I forgot discussion. Okay, so,
Can we help you get communication out tonight or
Right.
anything?
after we wrap up this meeting, we should talk about sort of the communication that needs to be sent ASAP.
So,
And heard me that I needed to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
to interview. Good. So the next one, this is where we were. So what do you do with the
So-
motion?
Right, so we just took the motion, we approved moving the start of school to August 22nd.
Okay. So that's our biggest, that was our biggest issue. So, facilities, renovation, third and fourth floor, Jeff already talked about it. We're thinking of completion of August 11. So remember that we're doing only phase one for the science room. Phase two will be completed in December. Cherry demo has been done, okay, for the playground, and Oak front west areas building also was milled and asphalt paved on July 18th. Transportation. So the parents were informed about the transportation changes already. I haven't received any email yet about that. Routes and bus numbers have been received, so this will be distributed to parents today. Training with first students on how to X route, support system with director of operation and building manager. So those are moving forward again, and this system allows changes to be made for riders pickup and drop off locations. First student has a parental portal that allow parents to view the real-time location of the bus, school, and they're also actively engaging with bus drivers employed by Citywide. Now, a few weeks ago, they let us know they had some shortage of drivers, but they're working with Citywide, our previous transportation, to get the buses they need. Food service. The free breakfast and lunch ended at the conclusion of summer school, and we have received the first 2 months menu. We will be serving hot breakfast on Tuesday and Thursday at each campus. So I think this report, you guys received it. We're also working with DESI to finalize 22-23 food service application. Since we are seeking request for proposal for the food service management company, there is a delay to approve the application. At this point, we're using JoJo as our food vendor. Now, academic program. This one is important. This is a big change for DESI M6. DESI M6 means Missouri School Improvement Plan number 6, and there are some changes and some recommendations they want us to do. Like the strategic plan is part of it, leadership, and also school improvement, and teaching and learning, equity, and also diversity are part of the standard that we need to follow. This year, our middle year program will be reviewed because we have every 5 years they come and review it. We're now the 5th year, so last year, so they'll be coming and review it. And the map tests are out. I have Bruce compiling them, and they'll be presented maybe next board meeting, depending on whether Missouri DESI release the data to the other school districts, because we wait until they release it, so we'll present it, and we'll be able to have a comparison with the surrounding suburban school districts. So these are our priorities for this coming year. Student and staff safety and well-being, because of all the challenges we had around the school year and around the country. Diversity, inclusion, and equity, which is in line with our strategic plan. Our professional development will be focused on French immersion. We already started that. And also addressing the learning gap caused by the pandemics that's showed in the MAP and NWA test results. Hiring, supporting, and retaining highly effective teachers. Those are the 5 priorities for this coming year we want to work on. So COVID committee is not meeting yet. I'm meeting with the nurses for small and see what's going on, and we're planning to meet with the committee next week. Start to see what we need to do. And parents by Monday will be informed about or whatever is going on. I don't know if Dr. Goldman is things changing or.
The CDC hasn't released their updates. I mean, I think like screening. I understand so, it was supposed to come out on this past Friday, the guidance for school.
If there's any changes we need to make. And there's also threat of smallpox, monkeypox. Hopefully they don't get to school.
Probably the risk is low, but I think questions and concerns are.
So we'll be also putting in place district safety and well-being committee because of just to look at the risks of safety and well-being for teachers and students. Meeting maybe once a month or a quarter to look at what kind of a risk of safety we have in our buildings and so on.
Is there law enforcement that'll be on that? Like who helps to be the expert to say what's our risk level?
Well, it's going to be we will have principals, nurses, social workers, and so on. And what we do is we already have a emergency plan, and we want to make sure that we've done what we say we're doing in terms of safety and so on. So now, for training, we will be inviting some professional police officers to come and train us for intruder training and different other part of training. So that's what we.
And I assume police officers also review our plan to just sort of say, here's where you're.
Yeah, I think there's one who working with Cherry. And Heather, can you give more information about that police officer who came to visit and would be providing that information, that training?
Yes, I'm happy to. Sergeant Schramm works with Central Patrol, which is responsible for Cherry and Oak. And he's already come out, and he's the one who's organized the intruder training for all 3 buildings next week. And yeah, he came out and met with Jeff and Roger Goudiaby and myself to walk the Cherry building to talk about everything from entrance to cameras to evacuation and our processes and procedures. So he was able to provide us with some things to think about there. So him or his counterpart would be able to do the same thing at the other buildings to kind of identify any critical areas that need attention. Some of the things that we have already talked about in a couple of the buildings is the need for a better intercom system and possibly more control over the entryways, at least at Cherry. Like I said, I guess Roger's not on here, but we've had some conversations about the technology in terms of ID badges. So it covers everything from some buildings or maintenance issues to our processes to technology. So it's been good. There's also an agency, and I'll forget the name of it, that we got connected with through the Missouri School Board Association, that is a great resource and provides training for school districts as well as other resources. And so that's been really good to be connected with them. So despite the horrible reasons for needing to revisit these plans, it has been good to get connected with some really good resources at the state level as well as with our local PD.
Great, I'm glad we're doing that.
Yeah.
And those improvements that she spoke of, the intercom and the Cherry, are included in the capital.
Oh, got it.
Here
Yep.
to get started on that as soon as possible.
Okay.
So what's next? So recognition, Chair recognition. Thank you to the staff and parents who have helped welcome our new teachers by donating time and money and opening their homes. We have Maria Riaz is the Cherry Building Operation Manager. Heidi Westlow is teacher. Mary Mope, Nathan Kabura, Dorothy Warner, family David Niabenda. They're all staff members. We have Rachel Francis, Brian and Karen Hans were parents at Oak this year at Armor, Michelle Markham, who is right here. Thank you, Michelle Brandon Molina, who is the PTO president, the Towners, and Abe Dragon. Okay, thank you very much for your help. Next is so Oak recognition is the Beautify AL Oak team. Jessica Ben Jones, Colin Hankin, Patty Perez Belul, and Devon Long Pryor. Kudos to these parents to beautifying the environment of the Oak campus. So they're really helping us there to make it great. Krista Pilla for diligence and transformative work as the new building manager. Krista was a receptionist, is moving into the position of building operation manager to replace Jessica Wallace, who is here, who was building manager. Jessica is now the HR coordinator here. They're replacing part of what Carlos was doing, dealing with the whole mess with visa, the scary visa issue. Last but not least is Justin Jones, recognition for the 2021-22 summer school run really smoothly, great. He did a really good job at making sure that everything went really well. And I've heard a lot of comment, a lot of great feedback. So I thought that it would be good to recognize him as a great summer school director.
Yeah, he's great.
Any question about what I said, about school, about anything? Program, concern?
I have one question going back to changing the school. Does that change Meet the Teacher night at all?
Meet the Teacher night was one again.
Yeah, it's supposed to be this Monday.
Okay.
And because some of or at least notifying people whose teachers aren't here not to come to Meet the Teacher night, but I just don't know if it changes it.
Thinking about.
And I don't know if we have to vote on that. We probably don't.
No, you don't vote on it. That's the thing that I'm going to meet probably after the meeting, consult with the principal and see what the kind of issue we have.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't something
Monday,
we needed to do.
No.
I can hold it Zoom.
Yeah, I mean.
Meet them in Africa.
Any other question? We need to move to the last one.
And I don't have anything else to add. It's been a long meeting. I appreciate everybody's dedication to get through. But so my only thought is the last slides that you were sharing with your report, anything that is just bullets that you read through that doesn't require discussion, that's again things that I would do in just a report that we'll read through.
I'll create a folder monthly with reports by department. Okay, and go if we report development and so on, and then the final report would be debatable item or motions or critical information.
Key things that require discussion or that you want to make sure we're aware, like the MSIP changes, right? Those are things that we should be aware of. It doesn't necessarily require input from us, but it's important to know about like big changes like that.
The good thing is when Beth and I was working with Ken, we had in mind the MSIP 6 requirement too, because we're going to hit that with our strategic plan and what we're going to do to make sure, because our school is caught year one. So which means that there's a selected number of schools that would be, part of the DESI, cohort one that would be expected to follow all those expectations from DESI for MSIP 6. And one big change, again, not to lengthen the meeting again, but in the past, MSIP 5 used to give us point only for, their status and growth, which means that when our test scores are high, we get 100% point anyway. But with MSIP 6, you don't have. There's another area, growth, where they're gonna look at how others are moving forward. That's another challenge that, of course, we'll have to address for us.
Right. So our MSIP scores won't look as good because it's more focused on growth versus just.
They're both,
Right.
they're both.
Yeah, so it's just harder to have growth when you're.
Yeah, we did not need the growth point. We used to have 100% because of our high test scores. Now, they're gonna look at different, how every kid is being moved forward. That's one of the big changes.
All right, I think we're good.
So I know we're talking about putting more stuff that we can read ahead of time, but will we keep the recognition?
Yeah, I think, yes, I think the recognitions are important to do publicly.
Do those go out to the whole?
Right. Do they know they're recognized?
Do they know they're recognized, and do the parents and things know they're recognized?
Right. It should go in the newsletter. In the weekly newsletter, we should highlight sort of the people who get recognized and even.
Facebook page.
Right, yes. I mean, just publicize it more because it is important. I think it's important for people who take on those leaderships, who do those special things, to be publicly recognized, and not a lot of people listen to our board.
Do that, okay.
So, it's not very public.
Yeah, I apologize for my computer went died.
That's all right.
It should have been longer than that. I mean, it was connected the whole day. Why would it die?
Who knows?
I don't get it.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Oh,
We'll
wait a
see you
minute.
on Saturday.
Do you adjourn the meeting?
Yes, I'll make sure in the calendar it's the right address.
Meeting.
Oh, meeting is adjourned. Done.
Put a motion.
All right, I don't think we